Ring of Honor, Reborn, 2004. Why are we reborn? What's reborn? Well, it's new towns. They're making their debut in Minneapolis. They're making their debut in Chicago. Rob Feinstein got ousted for trying to have sexual contact with a 14-year-old boy. We got new talent. The Havana Pitbulls are here. Austin Aries is here. It's just a new era of Ring of Honor. New towns, new storylines, new faces. Less pedophiles. All that and more. And not in the podcast. Not in me. Don't be Rob Feinstein. Right here on the Apron Bump Podcast.
Yeah. And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get it started. Yeah, back.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I'm your host, the hardest part of the ring, Kyle Bird. How's everybody doing today? How is everybody's bump day going, huh? Every day's bump day when you're here on the Apron Bump. It's not like Rusev Day. Rusev Day was a farce. Every day is bump day in reality. And I'm glad to have you here. Glad you're here to celebrate it with a little Ring of Honor from 2004. What a year, man. What a year for Ring of Honor. It's lots of ups and downs, a lot of turbulence. So I guess we could start here. Maybe we could recap kind of where we're at. First of all, if you're just jumping in cold, maybe this is your first Apron Bump episode that you've watched or listened to. Which, by the way, on any audio platform and also on YouTube, give it a like, a bell, ring a bell, ring the bell, or leave a rating, all that stuff. This might be the first Ring of Honor episode you've turned into on here. And maybe you want some context. Maybe you want to relive the journey. It's been a fun one. If you would like to do that, I've covered every single Ring of Honor show from the beginning up until now. So every show from 02, 03, and every show in 04 leading up to here, which we're in April, I think. If you want to do that, there's a link in the description that'll take you to apronbump.com where it'll list out chronologically all of the Ring of Honor episodes that I've done, where you can just search for Ring of Honor and whatever platform you're consuming me in. It's been a fun journey, so I suggest you binge away because it is there's growing pains, to say the least. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of fun Easter eggs involved with, a lot of big stars today and some other, guys that you wouldn't have guessed were in Ring of Honor. So we get a good bit of that here. But here, where we're at, Reborn. It is a 2-night event. We got Reborn Stage 1 and Reborn Stage 2. Stage 1, I'm going to call them Night 1 and Night 2. Night 1 occurred on April 23rd, 2004 from St. Paul, Minnesota. And Night 2 of Reborn occurred as their debut in Chicago. And that occurred on the very next day, April 24th, 2004. So a little double shot weekend. We got a lot to get into in these two shows. We got some Ring of Honor World title defenses. We got the tag team titles are on the line. The Prophecy and the Second City Saints feud is continuing on. Ricky Steamboat returns to continue his feud with CM Punk. We got debuts here. We got some new faces that we haven't seen before on this timeline. And we also got some guys that we have seen a little bit on this timeline, but are really starting to get pushed forward and are starting to become bigger deals, which poses some very interesting matchups. There's here's a couple of new up-and-coming guys, but it's fucking just a 4-way full of future main eventers. So there's a lot of stuff like that. Also somebody pooped in the Carnage Crew's bags. So we get to the bottom of that, or at least we try to. But I think we got to kick this off with a little bit of Rob Feinstein. Oh boy. So a lot of you are probably familiar with this, especially if you're a big Ring of Honor fan. Rob Feinstein was basically the creator of Ring of Honor, if I have that right. Yeah, Rob Feinstein was the founder of Ring of Honor. You know, RF Video, they distributed the ECW VHSs, I guess, at that point. And when ECW went, this is very, Cliff Notes, high level, whatever. When ECW went out of business, Ring of Honor essentially took its place as the wrestling promotion for Rob Feinstein to distribute. So that's how Ring of Honor even came to an existence at all. So he's been the guy, and he's been, he's had a couple little cameos backstage on these shows. Hasn't really been a part of the storylines or anything, but he's been a big part of Ring of Honor behind the scenes up until March of 2004, which was the previous month here. So this is the first month without Rob Feinstein. Kerry Silken ended up taking over. So this is the first, these are the first Kerry Silken shows that we're covering here. But why did Rob Feinstein leave Ring of Honor? Well, I kind of touched on it. That's probably not the best way to say it, but I touched on it in the cold open here. So, boy, howdy. So Rob Feinstein, this is before Catch a Predator was a thing, I believe. So there was this, I don't know if you want to call them like vigilantes or just like a private group looking to seek out pedophiles and, catch them in the, I don't know what the exact motivations or what their goals were, but there was a group called Perverted Justice, which I think may have been a WCW tag team. Perverted Justice. They teamed up with an NBC affiliate to host their own Predator Sting. And I guess they would pose as underage children in chat rooms. One particular AOL gay chat room in Philadelphia, this Perverted Justice, whoever the guy was that was posing as a child, ran into a user with the username RF Wrestling, which, I mean, come on, Rob. Like, if you're on a chat room, right? And look, I don't have any experience with this, but one would assume if you are engaging in salacious acts that may or may not be illegal, maybe, perhaps, perchance, don't use the name of your website. Or maybe don't use your real initials, or maybe don't give any maybe don't give an exact representation of who you are. Maybe, perhaps, I don't know. RF Wrestling, very incognito of Rob Feinstein from wrestling. But I'm not going to get into the details. But basically, there was a chat log that pretty much Rob was trying to hang out with this kid. Something about like, oh, I'll pretend you're 18, LOL. Like, what the fuck, dude? And then NBC ended up airing a story that basically showed this. And there was, I didn't know there was like video evidence of this. But why don't we check this out?
And remember this man? We originally thought his name was Timothy, another local man looking for a young girl. But he turned out to be this man, Robert Feinstein, a Langhorne businessman who promotes wrestling events. He has his own website with plenty of pictures of himself. We tried to catch up with him at his office and his home. But each time he saw us, he ran. And according to his chat log, he thought he was meeting a 14-year-old boy.
You see him skedaddling back to his car, which is just, I mean, Jesus Christ, brother. So yeah, that's a thing that's happening. So that's what's happening. By the way, I'm bringing this all up because this is happening, or it had happened recently, before these shows. My understanding that no charges were ever filed against Rob Feinstein, but this got him out of the company. And there's a whole like secondary layer where like Feinstein thought that Silken and some other guys were trying to like get him out. They thought this is a whole conspiracy against him. Those chat logs were photoshopped. That wasn't me. RF Wrestling, that's not me. What would make you think that's me? So it's like, I don't know, man. But basically, what is the effect of that is really the important thing here, I guess, right? So obviously, Rob Feinstein, he's out of here. He's, by the way, RF Video is still a thing, by the way. You could still buy stuff from him if you want. Not to plug him on here, but basically the real situation here, I guess Kerry Silkin was able to take over and was able to fund the company to keep it afloat, but there was a real chance that this could have sunk Ring of Honor financially. But beyond the financial aspect of it, as of this point, we've been talking about it, the past months that I've been covering. There's been a lot of Ring of Honor and TNA crossover recently. And this, I don't know what the exact situation here, because I know they would continue to kind of trade talent a little bit. I know eventually, like for a few years down the line, they would kind of put the kibosh on it a little bit. But here in 04, they were still kind of doing it, but I think they at least paused it for a little bit. Like I said, I don't know the exact details of, what the inner workings of TNA and Ring of Honor's relationship, but this is very notable because the current and inaugural pure champion is AJ Styles, who is a member of TNA at this point. Oh, by the way, one of the pillars of Ring of Honor, Christopher Daniels, also a member of TNA. He's in one of the big, one of the marquee storylines. He's the leader of the top faction. He's in the world title picture. So let's pull up what the roster was. And shout out SmackDownHotel.com, because you can go to any company. You can like filter to any company, or at least the ones that they have here. And you can like select a date, hit submit, and it'll like populate the roster at that day and time, which is pretty cool. But I have here TNA's roster on April 24th, 2004. And April 24th, because that's the night 2 of Reborn that we're covering here today. Let's just like scan through TNA's roster and see who potentially Ring of Honor could be losing access to. So we talked about AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, who are probably the two big hitters here. Chris Sabin, who they had just begun pushing here in Ring of Honor, he could be out of here. Abyss, member of Special K, that's a big deal. We got who else? Delirious. So Delirious is actually on these shows, which is why I'm not exactly sure how cut and dry the separation is. But Delirious is a guy. Dusty Rhodes, who's made a few appearances on Ring of Honor. Umaga was in TNA. Ekmo Fatu. Huh. I didn't know that. Little fun fact. Okay, that's beside the point, but that's just a little fun fact. Jerry Lynn, whatever, keep him the fuck out for all I care. Who cares? Let's see here. Is that about it? Matt Sydal. Matt Sydal's also on these shows with Delirious. Raven. I think Raven's kind of done anyways, right? Had that big feud with Punk. Sanjay Dutt has made a few appearances. That's about it. Tracy Brooks, who's accompanied Punk in her stupid pigtails, so no harm there. But there's some heavy hitters here. So it's a very raucous time for Ring of Honor. So I just thought that was very interesting, because it's like this is very early in their run in the grand scheme of things. I mean, they've been around for 2 years. But this whole thing could have sunk them. It's a big deal. But luckily, they were able to dig their way out of it somehow. But basically, I note that because there's no AJ Styles on these shows. It's pure champion. So there's no pure championship anything on these 2 shows. And they've made a big deal about it in the past couple shows. So that's a big, big gap. And there's no Daniels, who in storyline, he was taken out by CM Punk. But this is a few months ago at this point. So. But yeah, no Daniels here, no AJ, no There's also no Special K, which is not related to this, but just kind of a recap of the last show we covered. At our best, Special K essentially got murdered by the Carnage Crew. Angel Dust, I believe it was, got pile driven off the top of a cage. They finally suffered defeat to the Carnage Crew. So Special K is not on these shows either, which they've been on every single show, it feels like, that I've covered. So no Special K, no AJ, no Daniels. Basically, it's a very unique feeling set of shows. There's some very, like I said, we're going to talk about some new phases that they're pushing here. But all in all, these shows felt very grounded. Like it felt very just like good pro wrestling. Like there was limited dives to there was a lot of them, but sometimes it feels like every match has a bunch of dives. Whereas here it was really just like the scramble matches that it feels like. So, it was just, there was a lot of good wrestling here. We got some storylines, but let's kick this bad boy off. Let's get into these shows. Why don't we? What better way to start than with old Richard Steamboat? That is right. The Dragon is back here, and he is not too happy with Mr. CM Punk. So, to recap the previous show, At Our Best, the pure title was on the line. AJ Styles was defending against CM Punk, and Ricky Steamboat was established as the special guest referee, because Punk deemed that he was screwed in the inaugural pure title match. So there was a rematch for the pure title, and Ricky Steamboat there was to lay down law and order, as Ricky does. He's the purest of pure, so he was a special guest referee. But we talked about this. Ricky Steamboat may or may not have screwed CM Punk out of the title, because there was a point in the match where Punk had a sleeper on AJ Styles. AJ was fading. Ricky Steamboat did the old, pick up his arm, drop it, 1, 2, and then he did it for the third time. AJ's hand fell to the mat. Everybody who's ever watched wrestling knows that signifies that he's passed out, and that signifies that he's knocked out, which would imply that the guy putting on the move wins the match. However, Ricky sees his hand hit the mat for the third time, and Ricky's like, well, let me think about that for a second. Let me slowly go turn around. Oh, wait, then AJ's hand starts moving again, so never mind. We'll forego the 3 hand drops. So, and then AJ's able to fight back and is able to actually beat CM Punk, but CM Punk was screwed because he had him beat. So Punk and Ricky, they got into a shouting match, which turned a little bit physical. And ultimately, Ricky embarrassed CM Punk by hitting him with some Mongolian chops, a few arm drags, and sent Punk scurrying away. So he embarrassed Punk. And Punk is still pretty sore about that, because in night 1, this whole saga here this month starts in night 1 with a match between BJ Whitmer and Colt Cabana. How does Punk play into this? Well, Colt Cabana is a Second City Saint member with CM Punk. It's a hint that it's the faction of Punk, Cabana, and Ace Steel. So Colt Cabana is here and facing BJ Whitmer, who is a member of the Prophecy. The Prophecy is another faction: Daniels, Dan Moff, and BJ Whitmer. The Second City Saints and the Prophecy have been feuding. It's gotten very bloody and physical, and it's torn down buildings. Like, it's a very, very heated feud, which is another, Daniels not being here is a big, it's a big gap that's felt. But we got Colt Cabana versus BJ Whitmer to kind of continue that storyline. Steamboat, Ricky Steamboat, if you're not familiar, is announced as a special guest ref of this match. So Punk sees this and is like, look, let's talk about the past, the present, and the future. Ricky Steamboat is the past. He's an old relic. The present is the Second City Saints, and the future is tomorrow, where the Second City Saints become the tag team champions, which we'll talk about. So Punk, he cuts his promo. He's getting in Ricky's face because he's the referee here. So Punk gets out of the ring, The match is about to get underway. CM Punk grabs Ricky by the ankles, pulls him out of the ring, rams Ricky Steamboat into the ring post, shoulder first, which is the worst place for a referee to get hit with a ring post because he needs his counting arm. So his shoulder's injured, so he's unable to ref the match. They send out a replacement ref. Ricky Steamboat eventually chases Punk to the back, and more on that later. But CM Punk starts out the show by attacking Ricky Steamboat. And then BJ versus Colt gets underway, which not a lot to say about that. BJ Whitmer ends up beating Colt with a second rope wrist clutch suplex, which looked pretty gnarly. But BJ gets the win over Colt Cabana. And but Chris Lovey on commentary, a.k.a. Gabe Sapolsky. Chris Lovey is not too happy with Punk. By the way, Punk is... It's another funny thing. CM Punk is commentating both shows, with the exception of his matches, of course. But it's Chris Lovey and CM Punk as the pair here, which was a stark improvement from Chris Lovey and Rey Morrow. Is because it's like, obviously they do commentary after the fact, right? It's like post-production, but the way they're acting like it's live. So when Punk is out there, it's just Chris Lovey by himself. Then CM Punk, beats up Ricky Steamboat. They're he's running in the backstage area, but then he comes back like on commentary. CM Punk's like, well, glad I got away from Ricky. But this is all like after the fact. It's just funny how I do like it. It provides some continuity here, but I bring this up because Chris Lovey is not too happy with CM Punk. Let's listen to it. Let's listen to Lovey scold Mr. Punk here.
What's going on? Did I miss anything in here, Lovey?
Oh, just shut up. Just shut up, CM Punk. You make me sick.
Oh, God! If you could only see inside my brain right now, it feels so good to be the king.
Shut up, Punk.
It feels so good. I told him. Did you see me tell him to his face that I was gonna take him out, and then I did it?
You know what? It's bad enough that you get all this mic time doing color commentary here, but then you got to go out to the live crowd like that?
Yeah, I get all this mic time. Don't mistake my lighthearted commentary. I'm a dangerous man, and I just proved it to Ricky Steamboat. Nobody embarrasses me like he did in New Jersey, okay? My only regret with this match right now, that it isn't me in there kicking BJ's dumb ass.
Well, I'm trying to, I got our producer already in my earpiece. I'm trying to get an update in the back on how Steamboat is. And as he was
you keep him away from you. Keep it. He'll probably come try looking for me. His blood's probably up. He's going to come try looking for me. You keep him away from me. I'm here to get a payday. I'm here to do my job, okay? And my job happens to be ridding Ring of Honor of scum like him. Scum like Christopher Day.
By the way, I like the canon that Punk is doing commentary and somewhere else in the building, Ricky Steamboat's like, where the hell is he? Like he's just scurrying around the building, opening closet doors and, unveiling shower curtains. But Punk, you in there? Where are you? I like that. I like that's happening in the background. But let's continue.
Daniels, who I put out. Scum like Raven, who hasn't showed his face in Ring of Honor since I beat him at his own game. That's right. I said it. I'm too real for you, Chris Lovey.
You make me absolutely sick,
Good.
Punk.
You can't handle it.
I can't handle it. Ricky Steamboat, one of the most respected figures in wrestling history, and you attacked him when he's supposed to referee this match. Not only that, but you ripped off the fans of St. Paul from seeing him referee a match.
Oh, to hell with the fans of St. Paul. To hell with St. Paul. You heard what I said, and I meant it. I was a Minnesota North Star fan, and I was pissed that they had no spine and they moved to Dallas.
What's that have to do with the people of St. People
It has everything to do with the people of St. Paul.
See Ricky Steamboat referee now.
Now, who cares about Ricky Steamboat? The only person who cares about Ricky Steamboat is his little kid, and that's just so his dad can fund his little NASCAR fetish.
What are you talking about?
Pay attention to the match.
You absolutely make me sick.
There's a couple of quick pinfalls in there, but I'm not worried. BJ Whitmer is here alone.
All right. Such good shit. Oh, such good shit. By the way, there was some really good wrestling in there between BJ and Colt in the background, just by the way. But yeah. I'm too real for you, Chris Lovey. Fucking dickhead. So that's where we're at. Well, at least in night one. So this was night one, remember. Later in the show, in night one, CM Punk gets off a commentary to have a little match with a man named Bryan Danielson. We got CM Punk versus Bryan Danielson, a match that would be a main event on a WWE pay-per-view in about a decade. So, Punk and Danielson, just a straight-up wrestling match, right? However, Ricky Steamboat has now found CM Punk because he probably heard his music. He's probably out in the ring. So, Ricky Steamboat said, Punk and Danielson get in the ring. They're about to start the match. Ricky Steamboat comes out. He grabs the mic and he says, "Hey, Ring of Honor paid me to referee a match tonight, and by golly, I'm going to referee a match tonight." So he kicks Paul Turner or whoever the fuck was going to ref that match out, and I guess his shoulder is healed, by the way, Ricky. Put a little ice on it. I mean, it was one post bump. I mean, he's been through worse, so he's had bells rammed into his throat or whatever, so Ricky Steamboat's here. He's ready to go. He's ready to ref. And he gives Punk a damn near cavity search before the match. Really sticking it to him. You know how the refs, they check the boots and the tights and they get in there. Punk is pissed. He's there. Ricky's getting all up in his shit. And Punk's like, "Hey, you're just a referee. Keep your damn hands off of me." And Ricky grabs the mic and says, "This referee is going to be all up in your ass tonight." Like, what? Wait, hold on. Well, you know what? Is that what he said? Let's play back the tape. Because I could be wrong about that. He might have said something else. All up in your ass tonight. Is that what he said?
You never look at your problem. I said you're just a referee. This referee's gonna be all over your ass tonight.
Okay, he might have said all over your ass tonight, but I like the thought of him threatening him that he's going to be all up in his ass tonight. So Punk and Danielson, a match happens at some point. By the way, I just got to say this, Punk versus Danielson, special guest referee, Ricky Steamboat. I'm looking at this on paper. I'm like, look, we got two dragons involved. We got a dragon referee and a dragon wrestling. There's got to be some sort of conflict of interest, no? Some sort of dragon camaraderie, you would think. So it just seems unfair. It's just CM Punk continues to be screwed. Night after night, he continues to be screwed. And it's no wonder he's the man that he is today. Like, all of the shit that he's gone through, even back to 2004, it's a wonder that, he's still in this business. And it makes sense that he had to take a 7-year break or whatever it was. And he's a bit of a salty fella. But it just provides a lot of context to modern day Punk, which is very nice. But Bryan Danielson's here as well. He's kind of been in and out of Ring of Honor for a while now. He wrestled a lot in Japan and Europe in 2003, so he was used very sparingly in 2003. But I'm wondering if this is the point where he becomes more stable with Ring of Honor, more full time, quote unquote, because he's on both shows. Which is, look, I love me some Amdrag, so it was very, very fun to see. But Bryan Danielson, he's kind of embroiled in the feud with Samoa Joe because we've talked about it. A lot of these shows start with some pre-taped backstage promo type deals. And there's a reoccurring segment called Samoa Joe's Ring, where Samoa Joe is cutting a promo in the ring before the show. It's just like an empty arena. And Joe will cut a promo basically while stretching out some jobber or some trainee. And it's really fun. It's a really funny presentation. But Bryan here kind of commandeers these segments, kind of interferes, and it makes it about himself. And because he's pissed at Samoa Joe, because if you remember the last show we talked about, Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson teamed up to go after the tag team titles against the Briscoes. Bryan Danielson ended up getting pinned in that match because Samoa Joe was on the outside, doing his ole kicks, having fun with the crowd, beating up one of the Briscoes on the outside, and wasn't even paying attention. Bryan Danielson on the inside of the ring. So they got beef, and they're building to a match between them, I would assume, which makes my gives me the fanny flutters just thinking about it. So that's kind of cooking on the background. But let's back here. Punk versus Danielson. Steamboat is obvious. He's all up in his shit as he advertised. You know, Punk was claiming that Bryan Danielson was grabbing his hair, but Steamboat's like, hey, he's like asking the fans, was he pulling his hair? And the crowd's like, no, he wasn't. And then as he's doing this, Steamboat is pulling Punk's hair. He's like really bitching him out a little bit. But the wrestling in this match is great. I mean, you see these two guys, obviously. I don't need to tell you that. Really heavy chain wrestling in the beginning. Kind of a slow-paced match in the beginning. But it's intriguing. Like it's engaging, this slow chain wrestling. That's why these guys are so good. Bryan whips out this really gnarly looking surfboard into a dragon sleeper. Like, I didn't know Punk could bend that way. It was nuts. But Bryan eventually goes for the cattle mutilation, but Punk is able to slide out into like an unprettier, very seamless counter. Punk follows it up with a shining wizard for a 2 count. Oh, there's also a very interesting point in this match. Remember, this is 2004, well before Daniel Bryan, well before he's in the WWE. Here's a clip. Listen to the crowd and what they are chanting here. Yes, no. Yes, no. 2004, this happened. There was one guy that like started the yes chant, which I'm pretty convinced that he's a time traveler. Yeah, this was wild to see. Wild to see. Some fun foreshadowing there. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm throwing all these clips up. If you notice, this all happened when Bryan Danielson was giving CM Punk a superplex. And look, a superplex is like, it's a brutal spot, but it's kind of become mundane a little bit, even in 04. Like, it was a pretty regular spot. But you heard the crowd react to it, you know? And you watch it, how Bryan and Punk build to this spot. Like, it's just masterful stuff. Like, that's why this match was so good. It wasn't because there was a ton of high spots. It wasn't because there was finisher kickouts. It wasn't because of blood or, you know, forearm trading in the middle of the ring. No fighting spirit spots. It was just good fucking wrestling. And that's really what my takeaway was from this match. So, you know, Punk fights back. He locks in a tequila sunrise. Bryan gets to the ropes. He gets up, hits Punk with a dragon suplex for a 2 count. So good drama being built, some fun false finishes. And ultimately, Bryan Danielson wins with an abdominal stretch. You hear that? An abdominal stretch. Gets a win in a match. And you saw with that superplex and other, you know, moves like suplexes done, the midsection had been worked of CM Punk. I talked about that surfboard earlier in the match where it really stretched it out. So the working of that midsection played into the finish when it was a stretch of the abdomen that led to Punk tapping out. And Steamboat, you know, Punk's tapping out, but Steamboat's like, you sure? He's like really letting Bryan lay it in. So but yeah, Bryan Danielson gets the win. A really good match. Loved watching it. And but it also felt like they kind of left a little bit in the tank. Like, this didn't really reach epic, kind of like an epic feeling. It feels like they had more to give. But I think this is their first match against each other. I could be wrong, but I'm sure they'll have many more. So good stuff there. After the match, of course, Punk and Ricky are jawing back and forth, which leads to Colt Cabana attacking from behind, beats up Ricky Steamboat. Him and Punk gang up on him and leave him laying. So it's my understanding that, because this is all night 1. There was no Ricky Steamboat in night 2. But it's my understanding that the next month, Ricky will make a return. So that feud will continue, but it's been good stuff. I mean, look, Punk has been feuding with a bunch of like established names. He had that feud with Raven. Even, like Daniels to an extent is a pretty established guy on the indies. So Punk is getting a rub. He's getting rubbed by a lot of old men. So lucky fellow that Punk is. So that's where we're at with Punk and Ricky and all that stuff. But enough of that. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's get down to what all of you tuned in for, I'm sure. Who pooped in Carnage Crew's bags? Folks, let's get down to let's put our detective hats on. Let's get our monocles out. Let's get our not binoculars. What's the magnifying glasses? Or binoculars. I don't know. And let's find out who pooped in their bags. So I think we briefly touched on this in the last episode. But and I mentioned it before how Carnage Crew, they main evented the last show, steel cage match, destroyed Special K. And Dusty Rhodes was a part of that. He was like in their corner. He kind of helped them out a little bit. After the match, there was some like backstage segments. Carnage Crew was in their locker room with Dusty Rhodes. They were celebrating. They were drinking beer. HC Loke and DeVito are back there with Dusty Rhodes. I mean, how could this get better? We're at the pinnacle, from the perspective of the Carnage Crew. Like, how could this get better for them? They're celebrating. They got their win over Special K. They ridded this company of those shitheads. They're here with a legend, a guy that's surely inspired these guys. We're just having a ball. But then they get a whiff of something. They look into their bags where all their gear is and all that stuff, and there's poo. Feces is in this bag. Now the question is, who pooped? Who made a duty in the Carnage Crew's bag? So we're here to seek out who did that. So here, night one of Reborn, we have the Carnage Crew versus the Ring Crew Express, the team of Dunn and Marcos. Did Dunn poop in their bags? Did Marcos poop in their bags? Well, first of all, this match is happening. CM Punk's on commentary, and Punk asks a very poignant question. Punk asks, couldn't they just analyze the poop? It's a very good question. Chris Lovey responds to this by saying, no, we didn't keep the poop. That's too scientific for us. So I guess you couldn't analyze stool in 2004. I don't know. Maybe that's not in the budget. I don't know. They did, they are in financial flux at this point, so maybe that's why. Maybe that was the least of their worries. So yeah, the poop sample is gone, and but the match is not. The match is here. A little fun little match. I mean, Ring Crew Express, Carnage Crew, they're two staples of this company. Ring Crew Express are like the underdog jobbers. They've been kind of in a renaissance lately. They're not gonna take it anymore. They've had a couple segments where they're getting bullied in the ring and they say, hey, we're not gonna take it anymore. And then Twisted Sister plays, and then they beat up some other jobbers to a soundtrack. So Ring Crew Express has some momentum behind them. They get a good amount of offense in on the Carnage Crew. One guy lays DeVito out with a gory bomb, a lot of double team moves. The Ring Crew Express, they do this like assisted senton that looks pretty fun. It's like one guy jumps off the first rope onto the other guy's shoulders, and then the guy on the bottom like propels him up, and then the guy from the top lands with a senton onto somebody. Like it sounds kind of silly with words how I'm describing it, but there's a lot of energy to it. But ultimately, Carnage Crew is able to get the win with their patented second rope pile driver to Marcos, which I think they're calling the Carnage driver, and looks fucking nasty, but it gets the win. But the Carnage Crew wins, and Chris Lovey on commentary says that now that they can eliminate them as suspects, which how does that? Because they lost the match. So is the logic that if you lose against them, that there's no way you could have made a duty in their bags? This is Detective Gabe Sapolsky. I don't think that's his calling. Maybe he should put his detective hat away. Maybe throw it in a fire somewhere. But so that's where we're at. I think that's pretty much all. Well, actually, no, we're not done with the Carnage Crew. We're not done with the Carnage Crew. I thought we were. They have another match in night 2 against 2 debuting fellas. And you know what that means. 2 guys that we haven't seen on this timeline, which brings us to everybody's favorite segment, the segment that is sweeping the nation. It's going viral. The newest segment on the Apron Bump. New faces. New faces, new faces. Here are some people that haven't been previously on these shows that we're talking about for the first time. New faces, new faces. I haven't seen these people on this particular timeline before, but now they're here now, so they're new. That's what new means. New faces. Ooh, baby. Come on now. High production here. High production. So, the saga of the Carnage Crew. Carnage Poo? That's something. In night 2, they are taking on the team of Delirious and Sean Daivari. Very interesting tag team here. Delirious, I know, would go on to be very prominent in Ring of Honor. I think he had a backstage role of some sort. What was let's do a little research here. Delirious, not Eddie Murphy. Delirious wrestler. I think he's still going today. No, he's only 43. I would have guessed older. He was the head booker of Ring of Honor for a little bit. Also an executive producer. He produced and wrote over 500 episodes of weekly television. So he had a big role. Also the head trainer of the Ring of Honor dojo in 2007, which is very interesting because it's only like 5 years after he started wrestling. But man, yeah, he had a big impact on Ring of Honor. Is he still there? Where is he? What's he doing? What's old Delirious doing nowadays? Oh, he's in MLW now. Interesting. Just a wrestler? Oh, he's a producer and wrestler. That's fun. So yeah, big debut. All that to say, big debut here for Delirious and Sean Daivari, who is, yes, he's that Daivari. He's Muhammad Hassan's manager, Great Khali's manager. He would go on to TNA, compete in the X division. I think he's still wrestling. While we're just researching, guys, what's Sean Daivari doing nowadays? And it's interesting. It's interesting because here, so we're in April of 2004. Daivari signs with WWE in August of 2004. So we are, about 4 months away from him debuting in the Fed. So I think he is Muhammad Hassan. That's pretty soon, right? So we're approaching that. But he's here in Ring of Honor as a wrestler. Well, what is he doing nowadays? Let's get the context of this whole. He's also in Major League Wrestling. Well, as of 2021, he was in MLW. So maybe Daivari and Delirious are still tagging today. Who knows? Any MLW fans? Let me know. But yes, Delirious and Daivari going against the Carnage Crew. The question is, did Delirious poop in Carnage Crew's bags? Did Sean Daivari poop in Carnage Crew's bags? These are the questions we really need to get down to. Oh, and by the way, Carnage Crew is actually a 4-man faction, and it's DeVito and Loke, who I consider that's who I think of when I think of the Carnage Crew. But 2 other members of the Carnage Crew are Masada, who is I think he's in like XPW or some shit today, and a little man named Justin Credible. Still waiting on my book. But these 2 were also members of the Carnage Crew, and they are the 2 guys representing the faction here. So it's Justin Credible and Masada versus Delirious and Daivari. The match is it's whatever. Justin Credible is like super over. They're here in Chicago. They haven't really seen much of him since ECW, so crowd's really hot for old JC. And he gets the hot tag, lays everybody out, DDTs for everybody. But Daivari goes for his finish, which, I mean, I'm assuming this is his finish. What's his finish? Hardest part of the ring? Let me tell you. Daivari lays out Masada. Masada's down, prone on the mat. Daivari goes to the top rope. Now, for anybody who doesn't know who Daivari is, he is, what is he? I think he's Iranian, I believe. Iranian American, speaks Persian fluently, so that's kind of his ethnicity, his background. So Daivari goes to the top rope, and he pulls out a magic carpet. No, like a literal carpet. Let me pull this bad boy up. Just so you can visually consume this. He pulls out. Masada's laid out. Yep. He has a literal carpet in his hands. Frog splash with the carpet.
That is so insulting.
Yeah, it is. You're not wrong, Chris. You're not wrong. And then, yeah, look, here we got JC. Might as well get to the finish. Boom! That's incredible. Spinning tombstone. Delirious gets back in there. Now I'm just doing commentary for the match. Delirious, he's wacky. Oh, big super kick to the chops. And then we got Masada grabs him. Patella neckbreaker. Classic Adam Cole type stuff. And that gives Carnage Crew the win. So the magic carpet ride was my main takeaway from this match. But it was fine. It was a fine showing for Daivari. It was silly. Delirious. He's very he would go on to be a very wacky character. Like an extremely off the wall, like George the Animal Steel eating the turnbuckle type guy. And he was like a little wacky here, like banging his head against the post and going, blah, 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 blah. Like that's how he talks, right? But it felt like a very subdued version of it. I guess he's still kind of working out the kinks, but he looked fine. The Delirious was very smooth and very technical, which is, when I think of Delirious, I think of his character work, not exactly his in-ring stuff. I mean, we could even move on to his other match here, so that match was night 2. Going backwards here, night 1 is his true debut here. It was Delirious versus Matt Sydal, who was also making his debut. First of all, Punk makes it a point to say that Matt Sydal and this is a quote, has a nice, compact little body on him. Very questionable, but match gets underway. Matt Sydal, very young, scrawny looking Matt Sydal, has some fun offense here. There's one point where Matt does a reverse tornado DDT, but before he hits it, he goes, "Whoop, there it is." Which is is that his thing? I don't know. But he hits this reverse DDT. Goes for the shooting star press, but Delirious moves out of the way. Delirious goes for a power bomb. Sydal tries to slide off his back, but Delirious flips him over his head into his front. And then Delirious picks him back up, hits a Yakuza cutter. So there's some good little spots here. Some fun chain wrestling. Like I said, Delirious, I don't really think of technical wrestling when I think of him, but he showed it here, and Sydal was his high-flying self, as you would expect, and Sydal ends up winning with I guess I'll call it a Spanish fly, but it's like a belly-to-belly Spanish fly, which looked pretty impressive. I'm wondering first of all, where the hell is SAT? I feel like they haven't shown up in a while, but they invented that move. I'm wondering if they were pissed at this, but so yeah, Sydal gets the win here over Delirious, but both guys looked good, and they'll both be major players in the years to come. But it was fun to see their beginnings here. The match had a lot of heat to it too. A lot of times you get two debuting guys, is the crowd's dead. It's oh, who are these jack-offs? But the crowd was into it, which shows why they would become staples in years to come. It shows that they had the talent from the beginning, and this obviously caught the eye of management. So good stuff there. What other new faces do we got? What other new faces are there? Hardest part of the ring. I know that's what you guys are asking. How about the Havana Pitbulls, guys? The Havana Pitbulls, the team of Rocky Romero and Ricky Reyes. Rocky Romero, you may be familiar from AEW programming. He's in, with the Best Friends. He comes out with the eye patch. He's been involved in like the whole Orange Cassidy, Trent Beretta stuff. So he's pretty much a staple on AEW TV now, 20 years after the fact. And so we get to see a little glimpse of him very early in his career with his tag team partner, Ricky Reyes. So the Havana Pitbulls, as the name suggests, Cuban origins from these guys. They're from Cuba. At least that's what we're led to believe. They've wrestled in CMLL. They've wrestled in Japan. As of this point already, and early in their careers, they wrestled in CMLL, all around Mexico and Japan and the West Coast. By the way, speaking of West Coast, there's a company, in its early stages over there called Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Yes, PWG, which I've been watching PWG like in parallel with this timeline, not doing any episodes about it, mainly because kind of shit. PWG, its first year, man, I mean, it's dog shit. The only stuff worth watching is like when Ring of Honor guys come, like when it's like CM Punk and Samoa Joe, or like Bryan Danielson, or it's mostly like local bullshit luchadors, but the commentary is fucking hilarious. It's Excalibur and Disco Machine, who are two of the founders of PWG. The commentary is the only reason I even keep watching, because they're almost like mocking it a bit. But the Havana Pitbulls are one bright spot in PWG, and I'm glad to see them here in Ring of Honor on a, at least in my eyes, a bigger stage. And so the Havana Pitbulls are making their debut. They get involved with a segment, a Good Times, Great Memories segment, which is Colt Cabana's talk show, which we've got some production here on this talk show finally. But Colt's here, he's hosting, obviously. He's being Colt Cabana, you know the deal. Havana Pitbulls come in, and he thinks that they're knocking their culture, which, I don't know. Why don't you be the judge of that?
Hello, everybody at home. Hello, studio audience. Welcome to Good Times, Great Memories. I am your host, Colt Cabana. We're doing something special here, a little new edition. I'm not talking Bobby Brown, huh? I'm talking an opening monologue. That's right, folks. And I got some jokes and some stories to tell you. I'm reading the newspapers. I'm catching up on all the Ring of Honor news. And I've been checking out the Ring of Honor website. That's at ROHWrestling.com. And something crazy has happened. They've gone from locker room scoops, okay, to the news wire. Yeah, that means all the up-to-date scoops, all the up-to-date rumors, you get them really fast. You don't have to wait a week. That's right, you don't have to wait, a whole week to find out that BJ Whitmer's a douchebag. You know what I'm saying? It's like on the spot. I don't have to wait a whole week to find out just how furry Jimmy Jacobs' taint is. That's right, I just log on, I find out, I say, oh, here's the date today. Oh, Allison Danger had her period. Awesome, you know what I'm saying? It's like, Allison, you got color the hard way, and we all know at home. You know what I'm saying? Oh, unbelievable, huh? What else is going on, huh? This Ring of Honor Tag Team division seemed to blow up, huh? Everybody's talking about Ring of Honor Tag Team division. I'm talking about the Second City Saints. That's me and Bunker. Probably the best tag team ever of all time. Some might say. Briscoe Brothers, Carnage Crew. Oh, now Ring of Honor's bringing in international tag teams. That's right. Yeah, right off the boat, the Havana Pitbulls are coming in. That's right. Straight from Cuba, huh? These guys are unbelievable. The only tag teams things they know about is when Colt Cabana was tag teaming their mother. That's right, they're going to call them the Cabana Pitbulls, huh? All right, it wasn't really a tag team. It was just me smoking a couple Cubans, banging them from behind. It was like, smoking up there. What else is going on, huh? I'm reading the... Hey, boys! What's going on?
What the hell is that?
Cuban style, right? No? All right. What do you want? You're interrupting my monologue here.
Don't knock us or our country, man. That ain't cool.
That ain't cool? All right, anything to say? I'll tell you what, I got something for you people to say. You can be my guest on Good Times, Great Memory. Let's walk on over here to the special desk they've got. Excuse the awesome background. That's a painting, people, okay? It's meant to be there. Why don't you guys have a seat? Come on over, take a seat. We got seats for you, huh? Have a seat. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let me ask you some questions. What are you staring me down for, huh?
Why are you knocking us?
I'm not knocking you. I want to know a little about you. You guys come here. You don't have your shirts on.
Stop.
All right.
We're only here at Ring of Honor for one thing, and that's to make money and get to the top. Make a name here. That's the only reason we're here.
Well, it's a great start coming to Good Times, Great Memories. You guys are going to be building the endorsements, probably toothpaste, probably tanning lotion. What?
We're only here for one thing, I said.
All right.
For money. Briscoes, people say you guys are the best tag team here. Well, we're only here for one thing, to break your bones and get to the top. If that's what we got to do, then that's what we got to do.
We're tired of you knocking us and our country. You understand? Keep it up, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of us a lot sooner than you expect. Let's go.
You're leaving? What am I going to do? I tell you what, you people at home, I got a backup plan here, obviously. And what better thing to do than bring in Becky Bayless, a Special K.
All right, let's not let's not do that. But yeah, so a very explosive promo from the Havana Pitbulls. They're still early in their careers. I'm not going to knock them too much, but they feel insulted by Colt Cabana. Their culture is being mocked. Who could blame them? Building to their match with the Briscoes, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. I just gotta say though, I'm watching this promo back and I'm like, man, Ricky Reyes. I mean, this man just looks like a grown-up baby. Like it feels like a fully functioning tall baby. He's a fun wrestler to watch. Probably kick my ass, but this man has no neck and a triple XL head on him. So, but more on that here in a second. Hey, Becky Bayless comes in, who's you may know her as.
And look, they got that slut Becky on the outside, Chris.
That slut Becky, as commentary always mentions her as. She's like the valet for Special K. Special K is not here. She's looking for him. Where are you at, Special K? And then Colt Cabana has her do jumping jacks, and it's all fucking thing. So we won't get into that. Let's get into some Havana Pitbulls action here. The Briscoes. It's a non-title match. We got the champions, the Briscoes, versus the Havana Pitbulls. Punk makes it a point to point out that the ref held the belt up as if it was a title match, but it's not. So Punk really berates the ref for that, but the match gets underway. And the Briscoes, they're great. Like they're the highlights of definitely the first 2 years at least of Ring of Honor. 02, 03, just go to a Briscoe match, you know you're gonna get something great. They're the MVPs so far of this company in their entire history. So they're great. Like that doesn't even need to be said, right? I'm watching this match and I'm looking at Rocky Romero. Like, dude, this dude is so crisp. Like, even back in 04, like this guy, the kicks, like he's implementing kickboxing and all sorts of martial arts into his offense, which nowadays that's very commonplace. Everybody has fucking roundhouse kicks and submission holds and jumping knees and all that stuff. Everybody and their mother's doing it nowadays, right? But in 04, it wasn't as common. So it was very interesting to see how ahead of its time his style was. Like he reminds me of like a Kyle O'Reilly, like that kind of style where it's a lot of like Muay Thai, but a lot of really crisp striking and really fast-paced stuff from him. Ricky Reyes is similar, but more of a powerhouse type of style from what I see. There were certain points in this match where it kind of devolved into just like a brawl. Like it felt like there was like a sincere hatred between these two teams. I don't know if there's any backstory behind it, but there was points where the match kind of broke down and kind of got a little dicey there. But could have just been the nature of the match, which in that case, bravo. It felt pretty heated. Briscoes, obviously, like I said, always great. They hit the double face wash on one of the pit bulls, a lot of double team, like the Briscoes hit a backbreaker, like Jay hits one of the pit bulls with a backbreaker, holds him there. Mark Briscoe with a springboard stomp onto him. The pit bulls return the favor by doing pretty much the same thing, but instead of a stomp, it's a knee drop to the head. So a lot of fun double team tandem offense between these two. Whenever the pit bulls are in control, it's just it's very fun to watch. I was very impressed with the pit bulls here because, while they might be just, even like when they're just like isolating one guy, making frequent tags. They keep their offense really interesting with a lot of, kicking based offense. A lot of fun tandem strikes between the two of them, good combos. So it makes them really stand out among all the other people on the roster because everybody's doing dives to the outside. Everybody's doing all that shit, right? Crazy pile drivers and whatnot. But there's like technique here that these guys are throwing out there that you're not really seeing anywhere else on the roster. So Pitbulls looked really good here. They hit their finish, which I'm assuming it's their finish. It's like a double arm wrench. So they wrench. I think it's Mark Briscoe's arms. Double elbows to Mark. Rocky hits him with a jumping knee, which turns Mark around into a lariat from Ricky Reyes. So just boom, boom, boom offense. But ultimately, the Briscoes are able to get the win with a springboard spike J driller for the win. So awesome match, fun finish, fun double teams all throughout. Really good stuff. Not much else to say, just really good stuff. I was really impressed by the Pitbulls here, and I hope they're regulars in Ring of Honor going forward because it was fun watching them. So that was the extent of them as a tag team, the Pitbulls. Because remember, we're still in the new faces segment. Night 2, we get a match between Ricky Reyes and Danny Daniels. Not that Danny Daniels. But Ricky Reyes is here in a singles match. A fine little match, nothing too crazy. Ricky wins with a rolling knee bar. So again, we're kind of pushing these Pitbulls. We're solidifying these guys as threats. So fun little showcase there. We get more Rocky as well on night 2, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I think we can kind of shift from the new faces, like the debuts, into a different kind of realm. Not really per se guys debuting on these shows, but guys that have been present on these shows, but have been like undercard, have been really understated so far. But this month, because it's Reborn, remember? And it's Reborn not because of other stuff. It's Reborn because there's new talent, new towns, right? That's why we are Reborn here. Not because not the other stuff. Hey, come on. We're Reborn because there's new talent here. And that is probably the best representation of that is from night 2. We got a 4-corner survival match. It's a fatal 4-way, basically. It is Rocky Romero versus Nigel McGuinness versus Jimmy Rave versus Austin Aries. So you see, if you would have seen this on paper, like, I don't know, a year or two after this, like that's like a main event. Like that's a main event caliber match. But here, it's like 4 new guys. It's 4 up-and-comers. Rocky Romero just made his debut in the company the night before. Nigel McGuinness has been on a few shows, but kind of just like an undercard kind of novelty act. Jimmy Rave has been on a bunch of shows, but he's been pretty much a jobber. I think he's only won like 1 match. And Austin Aries, he did appear on one of the afternoon shows, but hasn't really appeared or hasn't appeared at all on one of these main shows ever. So he's effectively making his debut here as well. Austin Aries, the guy that's going to be world champion in like less than a year, making his debut here. So again, Rocky Romero versus Nigel McGuinness versus Jimmy Rave versus Austin Aries. Probably the match of the month. Probably the match of the month. This was an incredible match. No, not only was it an incredible match. I mean, I was watching this and I was like genuinely interested to see who would win. Like, there's a lot at stake, a lot of new faces, a lot of guys that would actually make a lot of impact in the future. And it's like a very polished match too. Sometimes these like multi-man matches, you'll throw a lot of just like, for lack of a better term, like indie-rific guys, a lot of baggy pants, a lot of bandanas, a lot of faux leather running about here. This was just 4 really good fucking wrestlers wrestling in a manner in which they were very hungry, like 4 hungry guys 4 talented guys, 4 unique different styles in a crowd that was very eager to watch it. Like, this is all just a recipe for just an incredible match here. Just a really fun atmosphere. Austin Aries is super over right away, which is, I mean, I guess, is he a Chicago guy? Is he a local, like, in this area? Because this is in Chicago. Crowd seemed very hyped to see him. So he was getting huge reactions all over the place. There was also a spot here, and this is kind of just a representation of this match. It's like a very simple spot, but it felt very effective. So there's a point in this match. By the way, it's a 4-corner survival. You have 2 guys in the ring. The other guys are on the apron. You tag in and out. It breaks down eventually, but you know, that's how it starts, right? So in the beginning of the match, Rocky Romero has Nigel like tied up in the ropes. And the referee starts counting 1, 2. You have to get off, right? So Rocky's like, all right, I'll back off. And then bam! A roundhouse kick to the chest, which topples Nigel. And as I'm describing this, you might be thinking, that's kind of a pretty mundane whatever spot. But it's the way the crowd reacted to it, the way Nigel sold it, the effectiveness of this kick, the sound of the... Like, everything was just like simple but effective. So that was, and I'll, just run down some of the spots that caught my eye. Rocky with, I guess they call it a Lady of the Lake, which is like a very classic European wrestling thing where he like gets on his back and like balls himself up like a clamshell, reaches his arm in between his legs. Austin Aries grabs his hand and then Rocky like pulls him and then wraps him up in an arm bar. So it was like very Johnny Saint-esque maneuvers, a lot of European influence, of course. Nigel is also, obviously, Nigel brings it too. There's one point where Jimmy Rave and Nigel McGuinness chain wrestle to a standing ovation. Chain wrestling to a standing ovation. I mean, that's just like, what a good place wrestling was at this point, where that was like appreciated to that extent. Just really good stuff. Nigel's in with a house of fire, throwing European uppercuts all over the place. Nigel hits Rocky Romero with this really weird kind of hype. It's like a pedigree, but instead of hooking the guy's arms, he hammerlocks one of Rocky's arms behind him and then like slaps him down face first into the mat. Looked kind of silly, but it worked for it's just the hype hot tag that he got. Then Nigel suplexes Rocky, and then Rocky lands on like a leg drop onto Aries, which I don't even know if that was supposed to happen, but it looked really slick. Aries back up with a brain buster to Jimmy Rave. Rocky Romero hits a Hurricane Rana to Aries and flows right into an armbar. Nigel with a divorce court, which is like an arm DDT to Austin Aries, and then locks in his submission. Which is interesting because Nigel's submission finisher would end up being, what did he call it? Fuck me, what did he? Zach Gibson does it, and he calls it the Shankly Gates. It's like, think of a camel clutch, but instead of wrenching back on the neck, you're like, have the guy in a key lock and you're wrenching back their elbow. Does he have a name for it? Maybe he doesn't have a name for it. The governor's crumpet. A kneeling facebuster. I guess that's what that slap pedigree was. London Dungeon. London Dungeon is what he called it. A grounded top wrist lock. That's what it was. So that's what his finisher would end up being. Right? But here, he's still playing around with moves, I guess. So it's more of like a... I don't even know how you call it. It's almost like it's like a key lock, but with the legs. Like, it looks kind of weird, but I don't know. It looks convincing, I guess. So Nigel has that on to Aries. Then Rocky's in, kicks Aries in the chest as he's in the submission. Then Jimmy Rave hits a Shining Wizard to Nigel at the same time. Jimmy Rave goes for the pin on the Nigel, but Rocky quickly has to like dive and make the save. Like, it's all very like how these 4 are interacting with each other. It seems very seamless, and there's a lot of drama in these near falls and a lot of urgency behind everything that everybody's doing. Jimmy Rave knocks down Rocky. But then Austin Aries is back up and has to pull Jimmy Ray off the pin. Like I said, it's just a very well put together match that maintains the drama and the energy with a lot of unique styles involved. Nigel hits the divorce cord again onto Jimmy Rave, locks in his arm submission, and Jimmy Rave taps out. So that wacky submission finisher he's trying out gets the win. So Nigel wins this 4-way, makes Jimmy Rave tap. And just, again, fun stuff. Love watching Rocky Romero. Nigel's going to be the guy here in a few years. Austin Aries is going to be the guy in a few months. And Jimmy Rave is going to be a fixture of the company for years to come. So fun to see the origins of these guys. What else do we got? What else? We got a couple other, but that was like the main highlight as far as like new guys getting pushed. But there's some other good stuff that is worth noting, like the night 1 6-man mayhem match. So you might be wondering, what's the difference between a survival match and a mayhem match? Fuck if I know. I guess on paper in a 4-corner survival match, need a tag in and out. But in a mayhem match, you don't need a tag in and out. But it all devolves into the same shit. So it's like, who cares? But the 6-man mayhem from night 1, we got Alex Shelley versus Jimmy Rave versus Danny Daniels versus Jack Evans versus Jimmy Jacobs versus Masada. Jimmy Jacobs is super hot at this point. He's continuing with his, barbarian, the huss, like that deal. Crowd loves it. Crowd's eating it up. And here's some moves that happened in this match. Masada hits like a giant swing, but reverse. So like a doggy style variety of the giant swing onto Jimmy Jacobs. Evans with a kick to stop the swing. Jack Evans was going nuts, by the way. I mean, he's really leaning into the break dancer, like just doing flips for the sake of flips. If you're going to do that, just lean into it, which is what Jack Evans is doing. I'm a big fan of Jack Evans so far, from what I've seen. There's a note. I put down a note that says running train. Don't know what that means. I think somebody was in the corner and everybody took turns, like just doing like running corner strikes. Alex Shelley hits a crazy Alabama slam to Jack Evans, like in the corner. He like pops Jack Evans up, so he's like doing a handstand on the top rope, and then he like whips him down into the mat. Hits him with a backpack stunner. Jimmy Raven with a shining wizard to Masada. Jimmy Jacobs breaks the pin. Jimmy Jacobs hits a sliced bread to Alex Shelley for a 2 count. Danny Daniels hits, I guess you can call it a 2-winged angel to Jimmy Jacobs. It's like the 1-winged angel, but with, both hands. You get it. Jack Evans breaks the pin. Jack Evans with like a Trouble in Paradise looking kick to Danny Daniels. And everybody's doing dives to the outside. Jack Evans does this fucking crazy corkscrew acai moonsault onto everybody. Onto everybody except Alex Shelley and Jimmy Jacobs. In the ring, Alex Shelley locks in a crossface onto Jimmy Jacobs. Jacobs taps out, and Alex Shelley gets the win, which I could be wrong. This might be Alex Shelley's first win. I could be wrong on that, but it's his biggest win, if nothing else. And by the way, I should say Alex Shelley locked in this crossface after that 2-winged angel, which is like just a brutal, just drove him neck first into the mat, which, appeared to have injured Jimmy Jacobs. So Alex Shelley kind of took advantage. And Shelley and Jacobs were buddies. Like they both came in together. They're both Detroit guys. So they were buddies up until then. But Alex Shelley was kind of a dick here, taking advantage of his injury. And it shows, after the match, Alex Shelley walks through the curtain. He sees Jimmy Jacobs lying on the ground, holding his neck. And Shelley's like, hey, get up, man. What are you, the weak link of us two? We're a team. Don't be a weak link. Come on, man. Get up. Like he's kicking him while he's down, basically. So we're kind of establishing a feud between those two, which will progress here on night 2. But so a fun little 6-man showcase there. So while on the subject of Shelley and Jacobs, let's just move on to night 2, where we got a scramble tag team match. The team now of Alex Shelley and Jimmy Jacobs versus the team of Jack Evans and Matt Sydal versus the Carnage Crew, represented here by DeVito and Loke, versus the Ring Crew Express, Dunn and Marcos. Again, just a bunch of shit. Just another showcase match. Here's some moves we do. How do you like it, guys? This is one of those type of matches, but we do get some progression in the Alex Shelley and Jimmy Jacobs story that they seem to be building here. Here's some moves that happen in this match. Alex Shelley he locks on like a double abdominal stretch onto like 4 guys. I don't know. It was a weird thing. Jimmy Jacobs, he has the Huss thing, right? He like grabs his wrist, spreads his fingers, and goes, Huss. He like stomps on HC Loke's hand. So Loke is like grabbing his hand, like, and Jacobs is like, oh, Huss? Like, I don't know. It made me giggle. Seeing Jack Evans and Matt Sydal here in the same match of the Carnage Crew was just a funny juxtaposition. Like, you have these uber high flying guys against these guys in denim shorts, just lariating, just throwing lariats and shit and punching people in the face. Carnage Crew hit the sick. I love this combo they do. So Loke has a guy, he's about to hit a neck breaker on him, or he's about to DDT a guy. DeVito has another guy, like in a razor's edge style powerbomb position. DeVito throws the guy in a powerbomb. Loke catches the guy being thrown in a neck breaker while also DDTing the guy he initially had gripped. Like, it was just a sick combo. Matt Sydal hits a Made in Japan on Alex Shelley. Jack Evans hits like a standing red arrow, which is gnarly. Dunn and Marcos, I guess I have this new signature move where they both get on like the top rope on like adjacent corners, and they both dive to the outside at the same time. They call it the stage dive. Well, they go for like everybody's on the outside. They're about to jump to the outside. One of them makes the jump. The other one like loses his balance and falls backwards. So I don't even know if he like went through with the dive. So there's some wackiness, some classic, early mid 2000s indie-rific stuff here. Alex Shelley does a dive to the outside. Matt Sydal does a shooting star press to the outside. Big old Tony DeVito does a moonsault to the outside. Carnage driver onto Jimmy Jacobs. But Matt Sydal pulls Loke out from the pin. Jack Evans hits a 630 splash onto Jimmy Jacobs and gets the win, which I didn't expect. Jack Evans and Matt Sydal win the match out of all these teams. So I get that Jack Evans has really made a name for himself. He has a really fun character. He's kind of Special K-esque in his like aesthetic, but he just makes it work. Just so fun to watch. I mean, all the flippy shit. He's like to the point of almost comedy. Like, he does all these flips. Like, it's, and Matt Sydal's up and coming guy who's similar. So they're fun to watch. So I was happy to see them get the win. But after the match, because Jacobs is the one that got pinned, Alex Shelley gets in the ring. He starts to help Jacobs up, but then he fucking kicks him in the face, shoves him back to the mat. And then Alex Shelley leaves the ring. He does the, he like kicks dirt on him and leaves the ring. So I guess they're done. I guess they're no longer buddies. So we'll see how that progresses. But another good showcase for these guys and putting forth effort into storylines, building characters. So I love it. Alex Shelley had a little bit of chance to shine on the mic, and he's always been a super charismatic, super fun guy to listen to on the mic. A real good shithead heel, and he's dipping his toes into that a little bit here. So good stuff there. There's two more matches I want to touch on as far as like new guys getting pushed. Let's talk about them really quick. Not a lot to say about it. Nigel McGuinness, Matt Striker from night 1. just like a good technical wrestling match. Like not all matches with good technique are fun, right? Like not all matches that are technically sound are entertaining. And ultimately you got to be entertaining. Like that's the mark of a good match in my opinion. These guys made it work. And Stryker, who is going to be fighting for the world title the next night, Matt Stryker works the leg of Nigel McGuinness throughout the entire match. And they get into the spot where, you know, we've all seen it, right? Where one guy is on his back, the other guy is on top of him, like his back is to his chest, and then you bridge up, and then you turn around, you backslide. We've all seen that spot, right? But Matt Stryker had worked the leg of Nigel to an extent where Nigel couldn't bridge out of it. So Matt Stryker just fell on top of him, hooked his legs, and got the pin. Like, it was a very unique. I'm surprised we don't see that more often. It was just a very solid, like the storytelling of it was on point. So the psychology was great. And both guys looked great. And that set up Stryker for his main event match the next night, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But wanted to touch on that one. Also, shout out Chad Collier, man. Come on now. Little, like, beefed up Dean Malenko taking on John Walters. I saw this match on paper and I was like, whatever. Like, I like John Walters. I've become a big John Walters guy. But Chad Collier is kind of a hit and miss for me. Like, again, he's like a more boring version of Dean Malenko. At least in the ring. He has some time to shine on the mic, which we'll get to in a second. But John Walters versus Chad Collier, probably definitely a top 5 match of this month, maybe top 4. Just again, an even more fun technical wrestling match. Like, Chad does a lot of leg work on the Walters, and this comes into play when Walters hits a Tiger power bomb and then flows right into a sharpshooter, but John Walters is unable to, like, sit down on it, so he's unable to, like, really capitalize on it. And just like a more really good psychology between these two. A lot of really in tight striking and grappling and, you know, quick pinfall attempts, a lot of unique roll-ups, a lot of quick near falls. And Collier is able to get a win with one of these roll-ups out of nowhere. So it's just a very gritty, like, authentic wrestling match. And I really enjoyed watching it. I will, by the way, because remember, CM Punk's on commentary. Punk had I don't even know if this is fun. It made me laugh. I don't know why it tickled me so much. So it's like in the beginning of the match, they're grappling or whatever. Punk says that John Walters looks like he needs to eat some fruit because he looks like he has scurvy or something. I don't know why that tickled me. Saying that a man looks like he has scurvy is such a fun insult. We need to bring that back, I think. Not scurvy itself, but bringing back the insults involving scurvy. It's really hard hitting, I think. But yeah, no, just a really good match. Just a really good bare bones wrestling match. Very technical, but it didn't feel like it dragged at all. I think it just had the right amount of striking. Like, it wasn't all grappling. Like, there was a lot of good chops and kicks involved as well. Like, there's one point where, you know, John Walters was chopping Chad, but at one point Chad gets his knee up to block the chop, and then that plays into the... It was just all really great. And to me, I was watching this, and I was like, why wasn't one of these guys the inaugural Pure champion? Like, this seems like what the Pure division should be. But AJ Styles is the champ. Like, I get it. AJ is a big name at this point. You want to establish the title with a big name, give some prestige to it. But AJ is not a Pure division wrestler. Like, he can technically wrestle. I get it. Like, he's a great wrestler. But when I think of AJ Styles, I don't think of the Pure division. You know what I mean? I don't think of technical wrestling, which is what it seems like they're trying to establish Pure wrestling as. It should be John Walters, Chad Collier, Matt Stryker, Nigel McGuinness. Like, it should be these guys. And I'm hoping we progress to that. Like, I don't even know if this... I know AJ comes back eventually. I don't know if this TNA Ring of Honor crossover hullabaloo, like, what's going to come of that. But I hope the title gets into the hands of a guy like John Walters or Chad Collier, because adding some stakes to this match would have added another level to it and would have made it even more of a standout match than it was. So I'm hoping we get there. But the fact that AJ Styles AJ makes it feel like the pure title is just like a mid card title. Like it makes it feel like a tier below the world title, which, in my opinion, if you're gonna have a secondary title, it should just feel different. It should feel like a completely different style. It should feel like there's like different criteria needed to fight for it. And I get like they have the pure rules, the rope break rules, and stuff like that, but putting it on a guy with this style, I think would elevate that title even more. And I'm hoping, like I said, I hope we get there. I hope we get there eventually. But so that's that. Let's move on to talking about a storyline that has spanned several months at this point. Not a ton of progression on this month, but a little bit. A little bit. So we got the Prophecy versus the Second City Saints. So these guys have had, multi-man matches in the past. They've had matches that have brawled all over the arena, hardcore matches. CM Punk took out Christopher Daniels with a Pepsi plunge off the top rope through a table. We haven't seen Daniels since. This is like at least 2 months ago. And like I said, there's no Daniels on these shows. Dan Moth is not on these shows. But the entirety of the Second City Saints is here. So you got Punk, Ace Steel, Colt Cabana, and then you just have BJ Whitmer representing the Prophecies. So there's not a ton you can do to progress the story. We talked about BJ versus Colt in the beginning, where BJ got the win. Night 2, BJ faces another member of the Second City Saints, Ace Steel. I remember night 2, they're in Chicago, so Ace Steel is like this fucking hometown boy, huge pop for Ace Steel. Crowd is hot for him. So we got BJ and Ace Steel in the ring. Before the match even gets underway, the Briscoes enter the ring and they attack Ace Steel from behind and give him a springboard J driller. Why do they do this? Well, it's because in the main event of night 2, it's going to be the Briscoes versus the Second City Saints for the tag team titles. It's going to be Colt and Punk representing the Saints. So they attack Ace Steel, I guess, to send a message. I think it's Jay grabs the mic and he's like, "Ain't no way we're losing the titles in this shithole tonight," which prompts Punk and Colt to come out and drive them away. So they set up the main event there. But as Punk and Colt, Punk's cutting a promo in the ring. The Briscoes come back out and they pull Punk out under the ropes. They start beating on him, and Colt hits him with an Asai moonsault, lands on everybody, and then they brawl to the back, and then the match finally gets underway, which was supposed to be just Ace Steel and BJ Whitmer. Ace, who is still kind of recovering from the attack, gets beat on for the first bit of the match, but then he kind of fires up, makes a comeback, hits a sunset flip powerbomb off the top rope, running drop kick in the corner. So it was fun to see Ace Steel get a little bit of fire here. BJ keeps going for his finisher, which is the wrist clutch suplex. He goes for it a few times. Ace is continuously trying to fight out because he knows the damage that it can do. But ultimately, BJ is able to hit it and gets the win. So BJ beat Colt and Ace Steel in singles matches this weekend. So even though he's severely outnumbered in this faction warfare, he was able to kind of come out on top, at least in these singles matches. So, but after the match, BJ continues the beatdown on Ace Steel. He grabs the mic and he says that the Prophecy are better than the Saints. And now it's time to finish the job. And then BJ goes out, grabs a steel chair, gets in the ring, and absolutely levels Ace Steel. Listen to this chair shot. My God! By God, he broke him in half. That was fucking 2004, man. What are concussions? What are concussions? BJ doesn't care about them. BJ doesn't care at all. So yeah. So that's where we're at with the Prophecy and the Saints. I don't know when Daniels comes back. I am sure that this will get heated back up when he comes back, but or at least Moff or whatever. But they did what they could do here with the restraints. But let's move on to the main event scene. Why don't we, huh? Let's move on. Let's just get right into it. Let's talk about the Ring of Honor World Title, shall we? Let's talk about it. Ring of Honor World Champion Samoa Joe. He has been champion for about a year now. I think he's at 12 months at this point, going into this month. Night 1, he defends the title against Homicide. So this is a rematch of maybe my favorite Ring of Honor title match to date. Do or Die 2003, these guys fought for the title, and it was just an amazing match. An amazing match. They would go on to... They had a rematch a few months after that. It was a non-title match in which Homicide won by choking Samoa Joe out with a noose. So we got a lot of bad blood going here. Homicide would then go on a bit of a losing streak. He would kind of walk out of Ring of Honor for like, I don't know, a few months, but now he's back. You know, not to a lot of. He's just back. Whatever. no big like presentation or no pomp and circumstance. He's like, well, whatever. He opens night 1 with the backstage promo. He's like, I'm here in the Ring of Honor. Samoan Joe, I'm gonna beat you. It's like whatever. Kojima, so. And Samoa Joe is here to defend the title. He's gonna be the first, or he's gonna attempt to be the first champion to defend the title in consecutive nights. That'd be a first time ever if you were to do that. And he's kind of also trying to compete with the pure title. He hates other titles. He wants his title to be the only title. So that's a lot going on there. And then you got Joe attacked Julius Smokes to end the previous show at our best. So there's a bit of personal animosity there on top of, Joe getting choked out with a noose. So I guess there's a bit of bad blood, you could say, between these two. Match gets under. Look, I had high expectations going into this match. This was nowhere near as good as their initial match. It was solid. It did kind of feel paint by numbers a little bit. Like you got whatever. You got Joe with his catching Uranagi, follows it up with a suicide dive. Like there was really some impressive stuff here, but there wasn't a lot offered that we haven't already seen from these two. Homicide does hit him, Joe, with a pile driver, which Samoa Joe taking a pile driver just looks fucking brutal because he's like such a big dude landing on his neck. It looks devastating. Homicide with a Tobe Con Hello, Joe with the Olay kick. So they're busting out all their signature stuff. There's one point where Homicide goes for a kick on Joe. Joe catches his foot. Joe slaps the shit out of Homicide and then hits him with a dragon screw. Let's see if I can even find that here. Because I think like the audio is worth you gotta appreciate the audio.
Gets out of the STF, might have saved the match for himself. Big slap and a drag.
One more time.
Over. Oh, Homicide gets out of the STF, might have saved the match for himself. Big slap and a dragon.
Stiffsky McGifsky right there, man. Gee, many crickets. So there's some fun stuff in here. Ultimately, though, it feels like they're just building to the finish, which is a bit wonky to say the least. So Homicide ends up rolling up Samoa Joe. 1, 2, 3. Bell rings. Samoa Joe kicks out, but the ref says, wait, no, it was 2. It was like a really close near fall, but the bell rung and Homicide thought he won, and he's pissed at the ref. He's like, that was 3. That was 3, or however he talks. Homicide clocks the referee in the face, says, fuck you, ref. Joe comes in with a big boot to Homicide, and then the lights go out. And then Sabu appears. No, the lights go out, and then a fireball arises. A fireball is shot from the hands of Homicide into the face of Joey Samoa. Samoa Joe is blinded. The bell rings. I guess the match is now just thrown out. The EMTs come out. Everybody's out like, oh my God, Joe, are you okay? Are you blind? Homicide's like, ha ha ha, I'm a wizard. And Homicide he takes out 2 more refs, knocks them out. Chris Lovey on commentary screaming for the locker room to empty. Some jobbers come out. Homicide kills them. Then the mid card comes out. Eventually, the numbers that they're able to tackle Homicide, get him out. Homicide continues to brawl with everybody, and then a whole fracas ensues. Now you have Punk and Cabana come out. They attack the Briscoes who are out there. So you got the Saints and the Briscoes fighting each other. Mark hits a shooting star press on everybody. Colt Cabana with an Asai moonsault on everybody. Dunn and Marcos are here. They hit the stage dive onto the Carnage Crew. DeVito hits a moonsault onto everybody. Jack Evans is here. Hits like a 720 corkscrew, whatever the fuck. Brawl continues. Chris Lovey on commentary screaming like a little bitch. CM Punk and Colt Cabana are in the ring. And then Ricky Steamboat's in. Hits Punk with some chops. Hits him. Beats him down. Hits Punk with some arm drags. And then sends Punk packing. Ooh, daddy. Come on now. What a way to end the show. It was a wonky DQ finish, but there was a lot of energy to end this show. Ricky Steamboat just made me want to run through a wall. Whew. Good stuff. Good stuff. But that being said, let's get to the real excitement. Let's talk about some Matt Striker. All right, I like Matt Striker, right? Let's be clear. I'm not trying to shit on Matt Striker. But Samoa Joe, so he retains the title in night 1. Night 2 now goes on to defend the title against Matt Striker, who became #1 contender at the previous month at Our Best. So now he's here. Samoa Joe, by the way, the entirety of night 2 leading up to this match, everybody's like, oh, Joe's not here. Is he going to show up? Is he still in the hospital? Is he blind? Is he gay? Like, it's a whole thing, right? But Samoa Joe gets there with like 15 minutes left, comes out to the ring with his whole like right side of his face is taped up. The tape eventually comes off, and you see this like burn mark. He looks like Kane when he unmasked. Like the entire right side of his face is black and purple. Oh, by the way, while we're talking about Matt Striker, I would be remiss if I didn't give you guys. I would be remiss if I didn't reward you guys, if I didn't bless you guys with this Chad Collier promo. Why am I bringing up Chad Collier? Well, earlier in night 2, remember when they're looking for Joe? We don't know if he's going to show up. ROH management's like, well, if Joe doesn't show up, I think we're just going to give you the title, Matt. We're just going to give you I think Striker's just going to be champion. And Matt Striker's like, man, I don't want to be champion like that. Like, come on, man. And then as he's talking, Chad Collier budges in on his interview on Matt Striker's promo. Chad Collier, who has beaten Matt Striker multiple times at this point, he's like, hey, they shouldn't give you the title. They should give me the You know what? Let me let Chad Collier, a silver-tongued wordsmith, listen to him get his point across here. So this is Matt Striker talking in the beginning, and then it gets interrupted by Chad Collier.
Again, getting all the scoops, and I've got one for you, Matt Striker. Samoa Joe still has yet to show up here in Chicago Ridge, and they're talking about if he doesn't make it, just awarding the title to you tonight, the ROH Heavyweight Championship.
Just giving it to me?
Just giving it to you.
Oh man, I don't want to wear the title that way. I've dreamed of this. I want to win. I want to beat the champion. That's the only way I want to be a champion here. I can't think about this right now, Dave. I've got to get my mind focused. I got to get my head in this game. When Joe shows up, he's going to show up. He's got too much pride in defending that world title to no show. There's no way. I got to go get ready, man.
We will keep you guys informed of what happens with Samoa Joe. If he gets to the building, we will let you know the minute that it takes place.
All right, cut.
Hey, hold on. Keep that camera rolling. Keep it rolling, all right? Hey, Matt Striker, I want to congratulate you on your big climb of the ladder here in ROH. You know, you won the Field of Honor. You shaved your mustache, you kept the unibrow, and tonight you got a big championship match against that heavyweight, that big fat pansy Samoa Joe. I just want to wish you good luck, pal, because today I met with them ROH board of directors, and they gave me the okay that when you go out there and you pin Samoa Joe, make him tap, or win out by forfeit, that I can just walk right on out there, and you can just hand the title over to me, because no way nobody here wants to see you get beat 4 times in a row. They don't want to see you get humiliated, Striker. You understand? That's okay, right? Just hand it on over.
What the hell are you talking about?
What do you mean, what am I talking about? 4 times in a row. Hey, I'm just trying to save you the humiliation, all right? It's okay, right? Just hand that belt right on over. Chad Collier, ROH champion, what do you say? Come on, just...
Sure, Chad, yeah, all right.
Oh, you're not gonna do it?
Yeah, no, whatever you say, man, cool.
All right, well, you just remember, Striker, you never have beat me, you never will. You remember that, all right? I'll punch you in the face, you punk!
By the way, shout out Dave Prazak, who made his debut this month too, which I think he goes on to be a commentator. I'm waiting for that day to come. But goddamn, Chad Collier, man, I might be a Chad Collier mark after that promo. It was just. It reminds me of that Kalisto promo. You know what I'm talking about? Doing lucha things. Oh, it was that, which is an extended version of that. So that's a thing that's happening. But Samoa Joe does end up showing up. So we get this match. Now we're here. My question here watching this is this Matt Striker's peak? Because Matt Striker is a guy that I had never heard of. By the way, if you're tuning in for the first time, it is not that Matt Striker. It's not the teacher Matt Striker. It is Matt Striker with a Y. And like I say, he's a guy that I'd never really heard of until I started rewatching these shows. He's a good wrestler, man. He's a fine wrestler. I've described him before as a less captivating version of Bryan Danielson. Like, he's solid in the ring, but there's just like an innate charisma that I think he's lacking. And maybe that's why he never really got above this level. Because Samoa Joe versus Matt Striker, look, he's in a world title match. He's a Field of Honor champion. He's obviously in a big position right here. But as he's here fighting Samoa Joe, to me, it didn't feel like he belonged. Like, it never felt like he was going to win the match. Like, yeah, there were some kind of near falls. He hits his Death Valley driver for a 2 count. He locks in the Striker lock at one point, but there just didn't seem to be any danger on Samoa Joe's part. Even with a burned face, Samoa Joe felt like he had control over most of this match. I mean, dominant, suicide dives, Ole kicks, super kicks. Striker, yeah, he rips Samoa Joe off the top rope, the belly to belly, but then Joe fights back with all these strikes. I mean, all throughout the match, it's just pop, 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 slap, like just peppering him with punches and slaps and elbows and kicks and knees. He's just brutalizing the poor boy. Matt Striker does hit a second rope dragon screw, which looked awesome, right into the striker lock. Samoa Joe gets to the ropes, Death Valley driver for 2 count, like I mentioned, but ultimately Samoa Joe wins with a flying triangle choke, which was fun. Just kind of locks it in from a standing position and chokes the boy out. So yeah, like watching, there were some elements of Matt Striker feeling competitive here, but to me as a viewer, and maybe it's because I'm watching in hindsight, but it never felt like Matt Striker stood a chance here. And I'm wondering if he ever gets back to this position after this. Does he enter the pure division, which I think that's tailor-made for him? I think he would have been a perfect inaugural champion, personally. But yeah, it was interesting to see Striker in the spot. And Samoa Joe retains the belt 2 consecutive nights. 2 consecutive nights. Just as he intended. And now stands at 13 months as a Ring of Honor champion. So that's some spicy hot fire. Pardon the pun, but. And then we have an upcoming match with Bryan Danielson, I would assume. So Samoa Joe's cooking, man. Joe's gonna kill you, as they say. But hey, why don't we got 2 more matches to talk about. 2 more matches. I know we're going kind of long here, but it's just I guess it was a packed month. We got Homicide. So this is night 2. We got Homicide versus Bryan Danielson. So night 1, remember, Homicide burned Samoa Joe's face to a crisp, and Bryan Danielson made CM Punk tap out. So both guys have they each have some type of momentum at this point. Pretty grueling match here between Danielson and Homicide. Nothing super flashy, just really hard hitting, classic like work a body part type stuff. But it actually played into the finish. So I was, from a psychology standpoint, it was solid. There's one point where Homicide throws the ring bell into the crowd. There was somebody in the crowd heckling the shit out of Homicide. I couldn't really make out what he was saying, but Homicide was none too pleased. But you know, other than that, but outside of that, just a really fun back and forth type match. At one point, they fight to the outside. Homicide goes for a punch on the Bryan Danielson, but Danielson evades it, and Homicide ends up punching the steel barrier on the outside. And then Bryan proceeds to work the hand of Homicide, which plays into it because one of Homicide's main moves is the STF, and he locks it in onto Danielson, but he can't lock the grip. So it's like a weaker version of it. So Danielson's able to get out of it. Hami does hit a pile driver for a 2 count. And which played because Homicide was working the neck of Danielson with various chin locks and chokes and things like that. So he was working the neck of Danielson throughout the match, which dampens the effectiveness of the cattle mutilation, because if you're unaware, the cattle mutilation is like you have to like bridge on your neck to like, it's like a upside down full Nelson, I guess you would call it. So he's not really able to lock in the cattle as effectively. So both guys' submissions are kind of neutered due to the body work that had been done previously in the match, which is just great stuff. Great stuff. Homicide goes for the cop killer, but Bryan flips out of it, goes for a dragon suplex. But as he's got him gripped, Homicide grabs the ref to distract him, grabs him by the shirt, and as he's distracting the ref, he does a mule kick low blow to Bryan Danielson. Homicide rips his elbow pad off and uncorks a huge lariat that turns Bryan inside out and gets the 1-2-3. So Homicide wins the match by devious means. So we're kind of progressive. So Homicide, 2003, he was the dude, man. He was the MVP, crowd favorite. But now it looks like we're leaning to a bit of a heel side, bit of a thug side of Homicide here, which we'll see how that pans out. And I should say, this is the last we'll talk about it on this episode. The night two ends with a backstage segment where Homicide and Joe were still beefing, right? Because, you know, he lit the guy's face on fire. So they're backstage. They agree to fight behind closed doors. So they like go in a locker room, shut the door. So the camera, you're just like looking from the outside. Like you don't see anything that's happening, but you can hear them fighting. You can hear a scuffle happening behind the door. Then the noise stops. So the cameraman opens the door, peers inside, and what does he see? Samoa Joe and Homicide laid out, bleeding. Who attacked them? We shall find out. Stay tuned. But that really piqued my interest because I don't know where we're going from there. That was good stuff. It was a good cliffhanger to end the show. But that doesn't end this show. We have one more match to talk about. It's the main event of night 2. It's the main event of the month. It's the match we've been building towards. It is for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. We got the Briscoes defending against the Second City Saints, CM Punk, and Colt Cabana. Night 2, remember they're in Chicago. The Saints are gods here. The Briscoes, they attacked Ace Steel earlier in the show, so the crowd already hates them. Ultimately, man, this was just... You could argue this is match of the month. I still might give it to that 4-way, but this is definitely top 2, top 3, for sure. Match starts out, they're chain wrestling. CM Punk calls Mark Briscoe a chicken fucker, which is something. There's a point where Colt Cabana and Jay Briscoe are the legal men. They're doing the classic like shoulder block, like, hey, you go hit the ropes, you hit me. And then Colt hits Jay, and then he stands strong. And then Colt's like, all right, Jay, you hit the ropes. Yeah, you get it. Go, knock me down. See if you can knock me down. And then Jay runs, and then Colt just trips him. Jay falls on his face. Such good stuff. Some tandem submissions from the Saints. There's a point where Colt has Jay and the Billy Goat's curse, which is like a reverse Boston Crab, and then Punk locks in a camel clutch at the same time. The Briscoes get the advantage for a lot of this match. Some good double teams, that backbreaker flying knee drop, double face wash in the corner. Colt gets the hot tag, hits a lion salt onto both Briscoes. This is just a really good classic tag team wrestling match here. The Saints go for a Doomsday device, but the Briscoes able to counter into a reverse Rana. Oh, then the Briscoes go for their springboard Doomsday device, but Punk counters into a power slam off of Jay Briscoe's shoulders, which was sick looking. There's a point in this match where all four guys, they take turns striking each other, Shining Wizard after super kick, after lariat, and then all four guys are down. Just awesome energy at this point. Mark Briscoe with a top rope ace crusher onto CM Punk. Jay with a J driller to Colt Cabana, but only for a 2 count. And then ultimately, CM Punk hits a hellacious Pepsi plunge onto Mark Briscoe off the top rope for the win. 1, 2, 3, we got new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, CM Punk and Colt Cabana. Who daddy? But that's not it. We're not there yet. So the Saints win, but BJ Whitmer, that goddamn Prophecy member's in there, attacks CM Punk and Colt from behind because they're both down. They're winded from this match. BJ's attacking both of them, but then in comes Ace Steel, who, remember, at the beginning of the show, he was leveled with that chair shot from BJ. Ace gets in there with a steel chair, gives BJ the receipt. Chair shot to the head of BJ Whitmer. So it all ties together. Full circle moment. Copa Cabana plays. We got new champions. There's streamers. There's Chicago's a buzz. Chicago is just losing their minds. And that's how we close the show. And there's a little backstage promo after the fact where CM Punk's cutting this really serious promo with his title on his shoulder. And then from out of frame, you see streamers and silly string pop him in the face. And Colt has like champagne, and there's girls, and it's a whole thing. So there's a fun dynamic between those two, and it's fun to see them as tag team champions. So that's how we end this month on a pretty high note, I would say. So that's where we're at. We got that. What's up with Joe and Homicide? Who we still didn't find out who pooped in Carnage Crew's bags. And we got a lot of new faces being pushed. So we'll see how that progresses in the months to come. But Ring of Honor is turning it up, man. It's turning it up. It feels like they've been in a bit of an idle period for a little bit, but we got some new life injected into this company. So I'm excited to see what becomes of it. But that's about it. That's about all I got for you. Again, it was kind of a longer episode. I didn't think it would be. But gosh darn it, I just had such a fun time talking the wrestling with you guys. So good stuff there. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, rate, review, jiggle my nipples, pull my chest hair out from the roots, slap me on the face, call me a bitch, and do all those things in that order. Love you all. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm hard.
Yeah. And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started.